Welcome back, everybody, to the show. I am your host, as always, Jay Villain, aka That Villain Jay, and with me, my co-host in council. It is the numbest of skulls, Mr. Numbskull himself,
hey
right
guys.
here with us for episode, I think, either 47 or 48. It's up there in episodes. I can never keep track. 48? Okay, at episode 48 of the Black Council podcast. Here on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. Welcome, everybody, as I say. And today we have a very fun episode. We're continuing our streak of interviews that we've had. We've interviewed a couple of content creators that we really like. And today we actually have Mr. Efren, Hollywood Pizza, aka Pizza Box, aka the head of the Pizza Box tournament that you may know from as one of the biggest Magic Arena tournaments out there running right now. You may have heard of it. You may know it. This is the man behind it. He's here with us today. He's going to answer all of our various pizza-related questions. We're not actually going to be talking about Magic, so in case you were tuning in for that, it's going to be completely pizza-related. So yeah, I hate to disappoint you guys that, you're probably, I want to hear about tournament play, high-level tournament play. Nope. It's going to be entirely about pizza this. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, we're going to talk about tournament play. We're going to talk about what it takes to run a tournament, what it all means, where did it come from, and where to go from here. And how about that one bug that ran for about a month where you couldn't do direct challenges? That sure throws things in the loop. So we're going to talk about all of that today. As always, we are brought to you by our patrons. This is a Patreon-supported endeavor here on the channel. And I'm chosen today to read off our current list of patrons. Thank you all for supporting us. Currently, we have Gods Unwanted, Metal Mechanic, Eclipse, Notorious D, Deadfast, Frank E, Argent Icon, W. Taylor, Szechuan Anon, The Clash, a live-action RPG, Lars Van Breams, The Great Xylo Beast, Jay Zilla, Jamel Zilla, Trexo Dactyl, Lord Gypticus the Flipticus, Mamulian, Cassius, Nickelnuts, H-Man, Ulfir, Dante, Valentine. My name is Steve, and of course, a whole pair of Davos, not just one Davo, but two pair of Davos. Paradavo himself supporting us there. Thank you so much for the patron money and for supporting us on Patreon. If you would like to support us on Patreon.co, it's patreon.com/theblackcouncil. I could not believe that name wasn't taken as a Patreon project. But it wasn't. We got it. The Black Council. You can join us for as little as $1 a month. $1 an episode if you want. $1 a month, $1 an episode, $2, $5. It's all up to you. So for as little as $1 an episode, you could throw us and become a member. You get input on what we do with the council. You get access to our Discord, our private Discord, and of course, voting privileges on, hey, what do we want to see next? What do we want to do? Try to steer what you want to see. And of course, you get your name read out in the patron supporters when we do an episode. So with all that being said, we're back at it in the new year. This is the first episode of the new year. A lot of stuff happening with Magic this year. We got rotation at the end of the year. We got Murder at Karlov Manor coming up. We got all kind of secret layers. We got all kind of new sets coming up. There's going to be a lot going on in Black Council in the new year, in Magic, in Arena, everywhere. We also have what are they called now? Play boosters. What are they called?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah, play
yeah,
booster,
so we got play. Maybe we'll buy some play boosters and see what's in that instead of the other boosters and draft boosters and all that. So a lot of changes coming this year. We still haven't even discussed the news about AI art and what Magic, Wizards of the Coast did with the AI art.
Yeah.
It's been too many news stories going on in Magic right now for us to even touch on. There's a lot going on in Magic. It's going to be a big year in 2024. We're excited for it. But today, our focus is on Pizza Box Tournament right here with us. And we're going to talk all about that today. So if you're a big fan of competitive play, this is the one that you're going to want to see. This is the episode. If you are a spike, that's what we call them in the Magic community, spikes. This is about high level, serious play. Now, you know me. If you've ever watched me play Magic, you know that I am not a spike because I barely know what I'm doing after 25 years. So it's good to talk to some people that have absolute high-level competitive play, and that's why I'm super happy to introduce Hollywood Pizza here to talk to us all about that. We're going to go all the details about the tournaments. If you want to get in tournament, we'll have links down in the description to go join, to the Discord, to his Twitch, Twitter, everywhere. If you think you have what it takes for high-level competitive play in championship formats and stuff like that, we'll have all the links there too. So in case you're a spike, an aspiring spike, please come on by to those and we'll get into the interview now. So Hollywood Pizza, welcome to the Black Council. As per being an invitee on our channel, you are now a member of the Black Council. We'll give you an invitation to the Discord. You're always welcome there, and you are now a member. So welcome. I think you're still muted though.
Yeah, what's up?
There we go.
Hope everybody's doing good. Really appreciate you having me on. It's pretty cool, actually, getting to hang out with both of you guys and talk a lot about Magic, especially tournaments and competitive play.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. And listen, I want to say I've been. This is one that we've been talking about for a while. Me and Numbskull have been talking about getting you on for a couple of months now, maybe even longer. Numbskull's been involved in the Pizza Box tournament for a while. I haven't. I've watched it, but I haven't done any, casting or anything like that. I haven't played in it. Like I said, I'm not a competitive player. But we're not going to shy away from the tough questions here. We really want to get down to the nitty gritty, and that's why I want to open up right out the gate with serious, like hard hitting questions about some of the real good details about what's going on. The first thing I've been dying to ask you personally is, again, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Okay, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right, it's been really nice having you. That's gonna be it for this episode. It was great. Again, that Patreon link is right there in the description. And I've been Jay Villainy. You guys have been great. Thank you to my co-host.
No, I'm gonna tell you,
everything goes on pizza. Come on now, like pizza is just a bread plate.
It's like a conduit.
It's like an open face sandwich.
Here's
what I'm literally like the best open face sandwich you'll ever have. It's just everything at once. I swear.
What I'll say about pineapples going on it is the reason a lot of people don't like it is because of the acidity in the pineapples and the acidity of the red sauce. So what she needs to do is put a different sauce on it, and it pairs better. And I promise you, it's really not bad if you do it that way. You actually want to get a white sauce because then you have acidity with the pineapple and then a creaminess with the white sauce, and then try it together. Promise it's not that bad, but I could understand why people would say with red sauce it doesn't make sense. This is too much acidity.
I think it's fine. I think it just depends like what you pair it with. Ham is fine. Bacon is better. I know they're literally like the same thing.
Well, because bacon has that fat.
Yeah, bacon's just way better with it. I think if you do something like garlic, like I used to do some crazy pizza slices with like spinach, sunflower seeds, pineapple, sausage, pepperoni, and then put like mango sauce and like pesto on it, and just like roast it up in the oven.
Dude, I love pesto.
And then just like murder it, because like it had like the best of like everything. It had that sweet and salty. So I really think like it just depends what you end up pairing it with. Like if you just have it by itself, I think that's kind of like meh.
Like just cheese.
Yeah, cheese and pineapple. Yeah,
and
that's
sauce.
Like not good.
So I've heard, and I read in your bio a little bit that you're a pizza maker. Does that mean you actually have like a pizza restaurant or pizza delivery service, or you're just an enthusiast?
Well, I worked in pizza for 10 years. I had my own little catering thing for like literally like a month. Didn't even really get to turn it into like a business or anything. I was just like, delivering pizzas to schools. On like a better deal than, let's say, something like, Pizza Hut or whatever. But I wanted to do that with my life, and this kind of like leads into the whole Pizza Box thing, because for a long time, like I just made pizzas and I worked at other people's restaurants, and eventually, like one of the restaurants I worked at used like my own recipe, and I was pretty much like in charge of everything pizza, right? So it's kind of like having like a piece of the pie, no pun intended, but also being free and not being the owner and having to deal with a lot of other stuff. Obviously, I wanted like my own pizza place, but you know that wasn't something that felt like I was going to achieve like in the near. You know, it wasn't going to be quick, but eventually, like COVID and all that stuff happened. I lost my job a bunch of times. I had to sell some of the stuff that I had for the pizza thing. So I just went through some stuff and I got back into Magic, and I wanted to like stream. So essentially, like after all that stuff, like I ended up jumping into the streaming thing, and I ended up using the name Hollywood Pizza, which was my pizza name. And that's kind of like how that kind of like started up. And I've always been like a Hollywood, like my screen names and all that stuff have always been Hollywood. So that's kind of like what I've been known for a long time. So it kind of was just like fitting to do that.
Is that Hollywood, California, or is that Hollywood, Florida?
It's neither. I'm from New Jersey, so it's more like a nickname that I got from being like trying to be like an actor and stuff in like high school and all that stuff. So people just call me like Hollywood and stuff. So it kind of has still obviously has impact today, where that's where Hollywood plus the pizza comes from. They're both a combination of, you know, my old name, new name, plus like kind of felt like when I ended up streaming and stuff that everything that I had done in the pizza game kind of got me ready to be like a streamer for some reason. And like the name and everything kind of like fit. Like I feel like your name has to be like really cool, and like you have to have like a lot going, right? And people love pizza. Like let's be honest, pizza's like one of the most popular things ever. And it's like cats, right? It's like cats, pizza, and like, you know, other things, right?
Especially with Magic players.
Yeah.
Magic players love cats.
So eventually I just did the whole streaming thing, and that's kind of like where the tournament thing kind of like ends up happening too. So I don't know if you have any other questions, but I could probably talk about stuff for like ever.
Yeah, well, so
yeah.
Leading into that, go ahead, Nubskull.
Well, I was just gonna say something we were talking about, like Jay mentioned kind of in the intro there, about the bug that we had with matchmaking, and that I know was a frustrating time for you, because, and it really was for me too, because I wanted to play in these tournaments, and I wanted, you know what I mean, I enjoyed having that be a thing on Sundays, Pizza Box, you know. So I guess part of it was, and Jay was saying we've been wanting to get you on here for, it seems like a couple months, and really we wanted to get you on like pretty much right as we said, okay, we're gonna get Hollywood Pizza next. That's when the bug happened, and then we weren't doing the tournaments for a little bit, and it was like, well, okay, well, now we have to wait. Kind of like it would be better to wait until they're back up again,
until it was running, you know again. I mean? Yeah.
So there's already like a tournament this weekend, so.
Yeah, exactly. So like we wanted to get you, like I think back in November is when we started talking about it, and then by the time we got around to it, that's when all the issues started. So now we're really happy to have you here. We have all this ready to go. But yes, let's just immediately get to that. Let's, you know, there's a tournament this Sunday. When you guys watch this episode, it's Wednesday night. You'll probably watch this on like Friday, maybe Saturday at the latest, depending when we can get it out.
I'm gonna probably try to get it patrons tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon. It's probably gonna go up for patrons.
Nice.
And then it'll go up for everyone else Friday, because I want to get it up before the tournament. Anybody who's interested, follow the links. There's gonna be a tournament. There's Pizza Boxes back, so there's gonna be some high level play.
It's the 14th standard tournament, right?
Yeah, the 14th.
Perfect.
14th of January. Yep.
But yeah, feel free. And I guess because we were talking about earlier, like, you know, hey, this guy, she's a streamer. He used to make pizzas. He worked in the pizza industry, or just kind of like the food industry, and that, you know, in general, goes by Hollywood Pizza. The tournament thing is called Pizza Box, and you were telling us people just know you as the Pizza Box guy. So can you tell us, like, what all goes into it for you as someone who runs this tournament? Jay and myself, we've been meaning to do it for a little while, but we actually still have to do a patrons tournament, and we're kind of curious, like, what all goes into
making a
running
tournament?
their own tournament for Magic, at least in the digital way.
It's a lot of different things. The number one thing with anything that you're doing yourself is that you have to like really be passionate about it.
Sure.
Esports isn't something that you're going to be making a lot of money on. Most of the time you're going to be losing money on esports. That's just how it is. And for me personally, I love doing it. I love being part of what is one of the best tournament series around. And to be the person behind it, it feels amazing. Like I love doing it so much. And I think that if I didn't, then I definitely wouldn't be doing it. And to me, that's the number one driver for me, at least for tournaments, is you got to really be passionate about it. You got to really be passionate about being there for the community, like at all times. Like you have to understand how the community feels about things and how you have to plan everything that you're doing, because you can't just go out, run and gun and do crazy stuff all the time and then be known as like a terrible like TO, right?
Yeah.
You have to like pretty much assemble everybody and have it be like a good time every single time. And I think that that's what we do and hit the nail on the head. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I have been doing it for so long now. I've been doing it for 3 years. And I've also had people that are irreplaceable help me.
Sure.
Some of them have left over time. We can get into like how I started here in like a bit too, to kind of like explain some of those people as well, because I think that they all deserve like their own shout outs, because those are the people that have made the tournaments, right? Like I run the show. I put some out of pocket when I need to. I try to give everything that I can. And then there's also all these people that know that I can't do everything by myself, and they're willing to help and willing to help support the community. And the community can mean like a lot of different things to people, but to us as like streamers and the whole pizza thing and everything, like really opens like a lot of our eyes to the fact that like we're all pretty close and we all kind of want the same thing. And it's really cool to be part of that. So without those people, a lot of what gets done, like let's say like support tickets, right? Like let's say I'm having an event and in the first round, 10 people don't show up. Well, that's 10 different instances of me having to deal with, those tickets, and having people there to help me definitely alleviates a lot of that problem. And having staff in Discord is like a really big deal. Like you have to do everything at once in like a sense, because you have to do it's like being a streamer, but like like getting all the streamers together in like a weird way. Like I have to like run the show, and then I also have to make sure that the tournament's fine, right? Like I have to run my stream, I have to make sure that like the tournament's fine. So I have 3 screens to make sure everything's good. I got like my OBS or whatever on one screen, my melee and my social media in the middle, and then on my right hand side I have like the game that everyone's watching, right? So I kind of like have everything together, and like that's kind of how I have that set up, and that's kind of how I am able to make everything so smooth on the screen, because I know the tournaments look really, really good. I know when I show them to people, they're like, yeah, that looks pretty awesome. So
well, I think it comes through that it's an absolute passion project for you, because like you said, there's not a lot of payoff. You got to be in there for the love of the game. Even as a content creator, even as a even for me, you know, I'm in this for the love of the game. I can't stop playing Magic. It's just, you know, I couldn't stop if I wanted to. And I think that is absolutely evident in, you know, the quality of the tournament that you put out, and everyone who wants to be involved. You know, I see so many content creators that I know who are so excited about, you know, it's going to be Pizza Box this weekend. It's going to be, you know, it's coming up. I'm going to be there. You know, and also I have to say, as a Standard fan, I love that there's the Standard series, because I don't think Standard gets enough tournament love, period. It's always Commander or,
especially now, right?
You know, Explorer. Yeah. There's just not very much. So I love that there's that encouragement of Standard play and all that. So yeah,
actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because a little tidbit about this month's schedule, both being Standard, I was going to do Timeless as one of them, and I actually chose not to because there's a lot of other Timeless tournaments going on. I didn't really want to conflict with them. Kind of want to give it a little bit of some room to breathe for a second, to kind of see where it's at. But you know, it's RCQ season.
Yeah.
So if people want to test, this tournament's free. You know, we have like 170 people already signed up. You know, so we're already over cap. You can get on the wait list. If you get on the wait list, Numbskull knows, even on the same day, if you sign up, you can just get in, because a lot of people just sign up to make sure that they grab their spot. So, you know, make sure that you grab your spot too and you show up, because each one of those spots is important. But
you can be 100 people behind on the waiting list and you might still get in, because it happened to me one time. I said, I remember messaging Pizza. I was just like, yeah, man, I just need like 96 people to drop and I'll have a spot.
And it happened.
And I was about to, like, I showed up on time just in case, and I was waiting, and I was like, maybe I was like, I guess if I get a pairing, then I'm in. And I'm like, it was like 5 minutes went by, and I was like, I don't know, man, I don't think I'm gonna get a pairing. Like, I was literally ready to like gonna walk away from my PC. And I don't know if you ever used Melee, but when you get a pairing, there's like a ding. It's like a lower kind of dinging sound, and it's very distinct. You know exactly what it is when you hear it. And I got a freaking pairing, and I was like, dude, I can't believe this. So I started playing, and yeah, that was the last one that I competed in. But yes, like, I think, like he said, like, a lot of people, they'll do it to try to get a spot, but they might back out on the day of. People get nervous. People don't know how to submit a deck properly. There's a lot that goes into it. And actually, not to go off that track, but let's, just for the sake of making your tournaments even more accessible, what does one have to do to play in the Pizza Box? Because we know it's free usually. I think they're all free now, right?
Yeah, they're all free. So
they're all free now. But what do you do to get in?
You go to MTG Melee. You make an account. So MTG Melee, I believe it's .com. You make an account, and after that, you just can search Pizza Box. You'll find the tournaments. You click on it, you'll see the button that says register under the flyer. You register for the tournament, and then essentially you just wait for the day of, and then once the day is there, you open up your browser, you know, like an hour, half hour before the event. You get automatically checked in, and you can already play as long as, you know, you got in the cap or whatever of that 128. Is the cap 128
you submit
players.
A deck too, right?
Yeah, Melee shows you how to do everything. There's how to play when you go to Melee. If you click on that, it shows you how to submit your deck. It shows you how to check your pairings. It shows you how to do everything. So it's actually like a great, useful tool. It's something I shoot a lot of things through my Discord. My Discord is kind of like the runner, essentially, that kind of makes everything work. Everyone kind of just goes there. There'll be links to that stuff, but everyone just goes there, and you can kind of get all your questions answered pretty quickly, unless you're doing the tournament itself, which then anytime that you have issues, I'd rather you do a support ticket, because that's easier for me to handle separately rather than being tied up in trying to just answer and do a bunch of stuff at once.
Mm-hmm.
So you can already tell how that there's a lot that goes into it. You know what I mean? To run the, because number one, some people just do tournaments, right? Like to stream the
Yeah, of course.
tournament, and get everyone else to stream the tournament in the Discord, and do
It's tough.
everything. It's a lot. It's a lot to do, and
Yeah,
just
man.
been a lot of hard work, and just been fortunate that.
Well, that's what I say. Your dedication
Yeah.
is evident. The amount of how heavily you're involved, like you said, putting a support ticket out and doing all these things, personally trying to make sure hands on with everything, every aspect of it, and making sure it runs well.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's something else that people don't think about. It's like, you think about, okay, there's a tournament today, and you kind of overlook, anybody's ever gone to a paper tournament, there might be random players there who like broadcast from the tournament, but unless it's like, a pro tour or a major event, it's not gonna, the organizers aren't gonna be broadcasting their tournament. You know what I mean? Certain players might broadcast them and their friends' gameplay, but not be responsible for broadcasting featured matches in every round for the whole thing. So it is pretty interesting, that, and impressive, really, that you're able to do that, because I think people don't think about it. Hollywood is running the tournament behind the scenes, but he's also doing a stream, and then he's doing tickets. He's delegating because he has people helping. And then sometimes this man even has to do commentary as well, if there's, you know what I mean, like late scratches, if you will, for people who were gonna do it. So I've called top 8 with Hollywood before, and of course it's a great time. But don't forget, this dude's running a stream and running a tournament while he's calling the gameplay for it. So it's crazy multitasking. So it's not really a question, but I wanted to give you make sure you got props for that, because it's not easy. Because streaming on it, we all know, man. All three of us know. Yeah, of course, all three of us know streaming is hard enough as it is. Just that part.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that you're doing the rest definitely, on top of that, I want to make sure that people realize, like, hey, and I know a lot of people, when they go to your tournament or your tournament broadcast on a Sunday, that might be the only time they come to your channel, is to see the tournament. Maybe they can only get there on that day, whatever it may be, so they might not even actually get a chance to see you and actually know who you are, or really get to know you. So so just it's nice for us, to have the opportunity to be able to say, hey, this is the man who's doing all that. We've got him here in front of you, and we're happy to give you the platform.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate you guys.
So I guess, so we have the tournament stuff. So now, and I know that we were talking about it a little bit before, and you were mentioning a format that I never heard of before. And we ask all of our creator interviews this: what got you into Magic? How did you get into it? When? And I guess maybe like what's kept you into it all this time?
Well, and what year did you start? What was your starting set?
Yeah.
Starting set was Champions of Kamigawa. That was my first real set. My friend brought a deck from the pre-release, like a limited deck that he fixed up a little bit with some extra cards he got. And I didn't know what any of this was, obviously.
Sure.
So I ended up being in study hall. We had I know I'm going off a little bit eclectically here, but there was at the school there was something called block scheduling, so all the classes were longer. Well, I ended up in a study hall with only 2 other people, so you can imagine there was nothing to do. It was one of my best friends and one of my other good friends. So on the first day, he was like, I'm gonna get you, this was sophomore year of high school, he's like, I'm gonna get you to learn how to play Magic. And I was like, no way, nerds, Magic, blah, blah, blah.
For nerds.
Nerds. So I end up playing a little bit that first day. He shows me some cards. I remember the first spell I cast was Shepherd of Rot. And he explained to me why it was good, because it makes each player lose life. And I was like, are you sure? I was like, this card seems like it sucks. So like obviously I didn't get MTG at all to begin with, but
Yeah.
at least I knew enough to cast my spells. So that was cool. So then after the second day, so on and so forth, like obviously we kept playing a lot more. Then he gave me that limited deck. So that happened on like Friday. Then he gives me that limited deck on the Monday or whatever following. And I end up having like my first deck, and then eventually I end up liking like goblins, so I get a little bit competitive and I make like extended goblins because they gave me so many cards, and I ended up buying some cards with like my lunch money. And eventually I have like a good competitive deck. Then I move on to like standard, or I do like the same thing. I end up, just getting like Gruul from like the Pro Tour or whatever it was at the time.
Okay.
And I kind of just like played a lot of Magic. I ended up selling a lot of my cards, like pretty much everything, and I got out of it because I was like just not making the best decisions in life at the time. But eventually I got back into it again, and I always get back into it again even when I sell all my stuff, because I just really, really love the game. Like, it's just really, really fun, and it's definitely like gotten me out of a lot of bad times in my life. And I think that that's definitely like a show to the game of how like, community based and camaraderie, and just like it's really like relevant with Magic. And I think that it's not just the cards, right? Like, man, the cards are cool. We could talk about the cards forever, but it's a lot more than that. Yeah, it's quote unquote the gathering, right? Like it really is, and that has a lot to do with the tournaments too, where it's just like, I really care about
absolutely, and I think that
everything,
that aspect of it is incredible to Magic, because I get so many people on my channel, even my stream, hey, I'm getting into Magic since I haven't played since 2005, but I downloaded Arena. I haven't played since 97, or I played for 3 years, and then I quit, like you said, sold all my cards and left, and then I came back in and then I did it again. And there's so much of that in Magic, because it's easy to jump back in if you know the basic rules. You just kind of have to read the cards again and figure out some of the newer stuff. But if you've ever kind of put your foot in the door, you've always kind of got one foot in it. So it's easy to learn, difficult to master. It's a very good game Mr. Garfield made. I have to say, he did a good job with it.
Definitely.
It's the trading card game. It's the number one, arguably invented loot boxes. You know what I mean? It's because that's essentially what a booster pack is. Which is why I like to see such a competitive. It's good to see a healthy competitive scene. And I think that a lot of the biggest complaints is that Wizards has kind of dropped the ball. Sorry, Wizards, I hate to badmouth you guys, but if we're ever gonna get that card reveal sponsorship, but there's been a complaint that there's not enough competitive play. There's not enough, Grand Prix, the Champions Tour and all that. There's just, people want more of that. It feel like it's right for esports. And we are kind of missing that aspect. So it's great to see this mantle kind of picked up by the community and brought back and said, okay, yeah, we want to have a competitive scene. We want to have these things in our community, and we definitely want them, to flourish. So, and I think that's amazing what you're doing here. It's part of it is just, it's flourishing. It is a big flourishing competitive scene, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Like, I really appreciate you guys having me on and getting a chance to like really talk about it, because I feel like I've talked about it before on my other friends' podcasts, the Ornithopter Academy, and it's just really cool to talk about Magic and really cool to talk about the community. Like, it's just like, I think a lot of people don't really see it. I think there's a lot of negativity out there towards a lot of people and a lot of the quote unquote bigger people. And I think people really just don't understand how we're all just like trying to have a good time. And everyone really cares about everybody. It's not like anyone's out to get anybody, right? Like it's its own thing, and I don't know. Like I said, it's not just the cards. Like I think that's the number one thing that's important is having everybody around and yeah, just involved. It's pretty awesome.
It's like
Absolutely.
most important part is the friends that we made along the way.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I will say I'm gonna put Num out there. We just the last video that we did, what was our top moments of Magic? His personal top moment was top 8 pizza box, hitting top 8 pizza box.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That
Oh,
was
that's
his
awesome.
top moment in Magic of last year. So it's definitely something that affects people and says, yeah, that was great. I had a great time doing that. That was one of my best moments of the year. So
yeah.
and I definitely think
coming in congratulating me on like in chat just randomly, people I had never talked to before. You know what I mean? So that was pretty cool. People
Yeah,
came to my
it's pretty
stream.
crazy. There's people who like there's so much like camaraderie and there's so much like love between each regions of like all the regions of the world, and like we get a lot of people from like Brazil or Portugal who come in and they're just like, yeah, rooting on this person in the finals. Like 10 people will jump in the chat
and then
just
their
start rooting
friends,
this person on.
their friends cheer them on. In the chat too, like I remember the one dude was Brazilian, and like there's just a bunch of like Brazilian dudes in the chat just cheering for their homie. It was cool. It was fun to watch, and
yeah, it was awesome.
And going off of that, the dude who beat me in top 8, I think he was Russian. So like we got people literally all over the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we get that's the beauty of being an online tournament is that you get everyone from around the world, and you really realize like how much impact you have. Like our sponsors, like the comic book store is like known worldwide, like Magic Jank is known worldwide. Like it's pretty incredible to really put it into perspective. I think that there's still days. It hasn't happened for a little bit because obviously the tournaments were out from the glitch, but there's days where it would continue to hit me. Like everything hadn't hit me yet, if that makes sense. Because being behind the curtain and being the guy that's like doing everything all the time, it's really hard to like sit down and take it in. I can only take it in once we get to like top 8. Once we get to top 8, I can take it in, but I just missed like 6 hours of whatever just happened. Like that's a lot of time that just went by, and I was just grinding and grinding and grinding. And yeah, it's just so wild. I love doing it though. I really do. I'm definitely excited for the future. I'm glad that the glitch is gone. The glitch was just like awful. And to Wizards, themselves, I know that they were at least trying to get it fixed. They wanted to get it fixed as much as they could, because they know that people play a lot of Arena, and especially the friends list, and people want to play with their friends. But overall, I'm just glad that the glitch is gone.
And that put a stop on tournament for how long was that going on for that you just couldn't run?
It was like 2 months.
Wow. That's
why I was saying like right around the time we tried to get him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It was like November.
Yeah, it was like the beginning of November. So it had happened before it was really known. It happened in the finals of a tournament. And I was like, oh man, what is going on? So it was happening like all day. People would be like, I can't connect. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. That's weird. I would just be like, well, it's got to be, I'm sorry this happens. And then people would just have to drop because they couldn't connect with people anymore.
It happens randomly sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, we get to top 8 and this guy, he tries to connect, can't connect with his opponent, switches to his brother's account, gets it to work, makes it all the way to the finals, then his opponent can't get it to work. So then
that's crazy.
Yeah, so that was the finals. Luckily, like everybody agreed to split and everything, but because there wouldn't have been a way to play it until like right now.
Yeah, it
It's
was a
like
long time.
2
And
months later.
speaking
A
of
whole
the
new pack
finals,
comes out.
generally, what are the prizes involved? What's your standard prize?
Cash prizes. So I give out about $260, $270 per tournament.
Hmm.
First place is about 100 to 120. Second place is about like 50 to 70 or something like that, and then 25, 25, fives and tens for the bottom four, depending on which event it is sponsored by.
Okay, which is for a free to play. There's no entry fee, correct? So you just run in if you want. If you want to play, you play.
Yeah, it's like a really big F&M. It's like a
Yeah.
it's like a super F&M. It's like an ultimate
Yeah.
F&M. It's like 128 people on like a Sunday afternoon, and it's just go. It's not like a GP where like a GP. I don't mean like player quality either. F&M. I'm not trying to say that because there's like world.
Sure.
There's like people who
There are
played
high
in the
level
world championships
players
that play. Yeah, that have played in our
Yeah.
tournaments and have won tournaments. Like we get some of the best players in the world, but it's more like F&M in the sense that everyone's kind of just like squeezing together to get it done in like one day, whereas like a GP is done in like 2 days. Usually you have however many Swiss rounds, and then after however many Swiss rounds, you have the next day, which is going to be a few Swiss rounds plus top 8. And for us, we just do Swiss and top 8 and just run it through.
That's great, and that's part of the fun too. Is it's random matchups, right? It's just you put it in a randomizer to give people opponents.
Yeah.
It's not like weighted by, you don't have like seed rankings or anything like that.
Well, it kind of is in the way. I don't know
top 8.
all the exact details about how everything like works in the background of like Melee, specifically like pairings and stuff, but
yeah.
Every round, winners play against winners, losers play against losers. Yeah. That's essentially where it ends up going.
But you could end up playing against a content creator, and yeah, you could see somebody runs in. You could your first round, you could just be, hey, it's against this guy, that you know, which is very egalitarian, very kind of open. To I love that openness about it. That's
it's so cool to do that on the ladder, right? On the ladder, I think about that all the time. I'm like, I make like a big mistake, and I'm like, oh god, I hope they don't know who I am. I'm like, oh, because if they know who I am, they're like, man, Hollywood just made like this horrible mistake.
Well, I have that. I have that anxiety in early access. I'll have Dries beating the shit out of me.
Oh man.
Or it's like when you're on the ladder and like you go up against someone and your chat's like, dude, that's this pro player, and then you immediately are like, you like lean forward and you're just like, like you're like, please don't let me fuck up while I'm like in this crazy battle right now. And then if you actually like beat a pro player, you're like, holy shit, you know what I mean? So just little things like that. Yeah, so it's and there's definitely. and you were saying like there are pro level players in your tournaments at times, and that was another crazy thing is that and Wizards and I wish that they would bring it back, and I understand what they're trying to do with paper and reviving that, but I wish that they would give you back those Pro Tour invites, because those were some crazy times in your tournaments. You
really
could
cool
win
that I got
Pizza
to do
Box
that.
and be on the Pro Tour.
That's amazing.
I would love for that.
Yeah, I'd love to see that again, because that just elevates. I mean,
the stakes are so, you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
That was cool.
It was really cool to be able to do that, and that was still like a little bit of what I call now the early days, right? That was like year 2, is when we got those invites.
That was almost 2 years ago now, wasn't it?
2 or 3 tournaments, yeah, because we're in year 3 this year, and it's just incredible. Like, it really all started over like a phone call. Like, I just remember level 99 Herbie, who's another awesome dude.
I know him.
Yeah,
love Herbie. Herbie's like one of my best friends from streaming and just life in general. And used to hang out in his chat. And eventually I started to stream and stuff. And then one of his mods named Bushwookie, he said, hey, you guys should have historic brawl tournaments. Like, what is this format? What are you talking about? No one plays brawl. Brawl sucks. Whatever. So we're like, maybe it's a good idea though, right? So we end up agreeing that we want to do it. And I remember it was like 3 a.m. I'm like asleep in my bed. And I get the phone call and I wake up and it's Bushwookie. And he says, hey, he's calling me through Discord and he's like, hey, come to Herbie's chat. We're talking about how we're going to set this up. So I go to Herbie's chat at like 3 a.m, just hanging out, having a good time like we all used to have. And we end up deciding how we're going to run the tournaments, how the prizes are going to be. So we end up having our first Historic Brawl tournament in January. It was me, Herbie, sponsored by the comic book store. And Bushwookie was like the advisor. He was essentially making sure everything was good in running the tournament, right? And eventually we end up doing that like 2 or 3 times. And then there was actually a glitch. So glitches are a common thing. You gotta just be ready to fight with Arena all the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it was like a glitch where you couldn't pair up with Historic Brawl. So there was like a problem. You just couldn't match up. Pretty much the same thing that was happening recently. So we miss a month. Eventually, it appears that Wizards understands that Historic Brawl is a format that they should invest into. And guess what? They make a play queue for Historic Brawl, which also fixes a direct challenge queue.
I remember that. I remember when that popped up.
Oh, okay,
so we're back at it. So we're back at it again, right? We're back at it again. I jump on in, and we're doing Brawl. And I'm getting like between 8 to 20 people, right? Which is pretty good. Pretty good turnout for our MTG Melee tournament. And we're not even giving away cash at this point.
Just for fun. Yep.
Yeah, this is a fun skis. We're giving away gifted subs to streamers' channels. Essentially, in the beginning, we wanted it geared towards streamers. That's where we were really pushing the community aspect of it. What ends up happening is that I do the Historic Brawl tournaments a couple more times, and Wizards does something that was like a great day for someone like me. And they say, okay, organized play, we're going to take a break. And it's like, what? They're going to take a break. It's like, oh my God, that means that I need to start having a standard tournament. That means that I need to start having historic. That means that I need to like really push the tournaments, right? I need to really be a competitive scene now. It can't just be Historic Brawl, which Historic Brawl is supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to be casual. It's supposed to be like, it's a different thing when you're playing for money. And it also, Historic Brawl, no offense to Historic Brawl itself and the people who love it, Historic Brawl is stale. There's the best decks, and people are always going to play those best decks. And then that's it. It's going to be really boring. It was just really boring every week, Kinnan or Winota, and then that was pretty much it. So eventually, like the format's like kind of solved, so it's like whatever. I back out of it, and since organized play isn't like a thing, well, shit, I want to. I need to jump on this, right? I need to do it. So I decided to have a booster box tournament to hype up another tournament, like a cash tournament. So I think it was the 1K. I know we did a 1K. And I think we did the booster box tournament to hype up the 1K, if I remember correctly. I'd have to go into my Melee and double check the actual dates on that. But my first big like standard tournament was a booster box tournament. And then that led into the 1K. So that's when, cash money was going to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
And after the booster box tournament, after the 1K, I started to only do cash because it just felt like cash made a lot more sense. People like cash; they'd rather get paid out, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ever
It's
since
also
then,
easier to
just been
send it to
cash.
them than a whole booster box, I think.
Yeah, especially people live around the world. I mean, I'm
Exactly.
honest up front. I mean, that's a lot of money, and that's just a lot, honestly. So yeah, so it is. So we do the open in July. June 6th. We do the open 2021 for the booster box. So I go what, 19 signups, 11 signups, 15 signups, 10 signups, 17 signups. Do the booster box tournament, 71 signups. I remember I capped out. I remember having 128 actual people who signed up, but only 71 showed up to play that day. Yeah, 71 participated. And then we go back down to the teens, and then we go down back up to like 73 people again. And then like, I can definitely see the growth in the bigger tournaments, but I can tell that Brawl just isn't really like a draw anymore. So that's where I start to make that change of like going from Brawl to Standard and Historic, because Standard and Historic make way more sense.
Sure.
And I think the Standard market is underserved, in my opinion. As a primarily Standard player, it's mostly about, like, everyone I talk to is they're either really into Historic, or they're super into, Pioneer, Explorer, or they're super into Commander. And there's nothing wrong with any of those formats. I like it, but I mean, even Wizards admitted that, hey, we have to, part of the reason that they said we have to change the way rotation is because not enough people are in Standard right now. So, I mean, by their own admittance, Standard is, kind of struggling to captures people's attention. And I feel like it's a great format. I don't like the change, honestly, to the rotation, but I feel like there's a lot there. So I really I love I love that, the fact that, there's a focus on that, and that people are playing Standard again, and that, people are engaged in that.
Yeah, always. We'll always have Standard. Standard is just it's the most played format on Arena. I don't think anything's ever really going to beat it. Timeless is doing really good, in all honesty. It's a really, really fun format, but I think at the end of the day, Standard's just Standard. And I've been a Standard player for a long time, Standard and Modern player for a long time. So I definitely understand the draw for Standard, so it's not like I'm not going to have a Standard tournament. I would rather have a Standard tournament than a random format, or something that's new, where, like I said, I want to give time to kind of like breathe a little bit and not rush into it so quickly. But Standard's great. I think Standard's in probably the best spot Standard's been in for years. I think that you can legitimately homebrew decks, and as long as you're like quote unquote homebrewing with some of the better cards, you're going to be able to compete and win some games against some of these top meta decks. And you definitely see that in the pizza box. A lot of the time in the pizza box, that top 8, it's like 8 different decks every time. There's a few instances where
that's
there's like
healthy.
2 or 3 of the same deck. Yeah, exactly. That's definitely the sign of like a healthy metagame. Like, sure, there might be 10 or 15 of this one deck, and maybe 1 or 2 made it in the top 8, but you know what? That's like fine. That's going to happen. You still have to play Magic. You still have to get lucky. Things still have to go your way, and you also have to know what you're doing, which is something that I think a lot of people don't understand when it comes to tournaments. And it also is something that really intimidates people, because there's a lot of people that I know would rather not play in the event, or they're like, oh, I want to play one day, because they haven't played in a tournament before, because they don't know how
they're nervous about it.
It's a lot of preparation is all that it really is. It's you playing so much Magic that you can play the deck in your sleep. And you've seen every single potential line against the other meta decks. Like, what I personally used to like to do was I would proxy a deck completely, like Sharpie it. So then I would have to memorize all the cards. I wouldn't even write on the cards what it did. I would just Sharpie it. So then now I have to just like remember everything. And then I remember it helped me remember everything in the game that's happening, because I had to like do it all like mentally. And I know that sounds like a weird way to like play test and stuff, but
It's good.
You have to play a lot of Magic to be good at Magic and to prepare yourself for these tournaments. I think that that's something up front that a lot of people either fully understand or don't understand. And I think that's something that, as a new person coming in, you have to see it from both of those perspectives. You kind of have to like be in the know of, oh yeah, people are going to be cutthroat. People are going to be trying to win, right? In tournament setting, it's winning. And that's it.
Yep.
Everything else, whatever, right? Like, everybody knows what it's like. You start the day like 0-1 and you just want to like leave. You don't even want to play anymore, because you know that your chances of making it means that you have to win every one of your next games. No matter what. If you want to make top 8. And then once you're in top 8, you have to keep winning. If you want to win, that's it. If you want to win, you got to keep winning. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, and a lot of people get upset about cards specifically, right? Like they take cards so personal, where they're like, want to get this card banned, or I want this and that. And I think that all that comes with competitive Magic. I think competitive Magic is just like, Timeless is the best example of that, where there's only like 3 or 4 cards restricted to 1 copy or something like that. So the whole format's just broken. But when I'm playing the format, every time I'm playing it, I'm like, I could just be playing a standard deck and probably be beating them, or still have the same amount of competitiveness versus this deck that has all these broken cards in it, because all everyone's doing is being like, here's a 1-mana creature, here's a 2-mana 1/1 that makes another 1/1, and it just hangs out. And
here's ramp. Yeah,
here's like a little bit of some ramp. Here's like a red deck, because red is just always a deck in every format. It's so simple. Like it's definitely a complex game, but I think in terms of like figuring out like what you like and figuring out how to like meta and stuff like that, it's a lot simpler than it seems. But as a new player, I think you can't get too ahead of yourself either. You kind of have to understand that, you're not going to do, if you go into the tournament and you have a good run, you have a good run.
Yeah.
Right. But you can't just get too overconfident, and you also can't, just think that one sample size is enough that determines you as like a player.
And of course not. I remember when everyone was joking about, what was it? A couple years ago, it was a big joke going around, because the actual Magic official tournament, I think it was may have been the Grand Prix, literally the top 16, everyone was going in. They're like, yeah, we got these top 16. Every single one of them was like Grixis control. Like 15 were Grixis control, and one of them was Rakdos control, because the guy dropped blue. And it was like Reflections of Kiki-Jiki, Invoke Despair. It was like the same, and it was kind of a joke, especially maybe it wasn't funny to other people. It was funny to me, because it was like, well, why am I watching this? I'm just watching 16 people play the same deck against each other. And I don't know if that's too stimulating. So I like that kind of, that, 1,000 voices kind of mentality of, maybe I'll try green in there. Maybe I'll try maybe I'll try this in there. And that's something that there's, like you said, the top 8, there's a lot of variety. You get to see, okay, well, this is going to be mono black versus mono red. This is going to be Boros aggro versus blue control. What's going to win out? Nobody would want to watch a football game where it's a team with a clone of the other team playing them. Like, they need different players. They need different coaches. They need different strategies. Mirror matches aren't that fun to watch, I think. And unfortunately, with a game like Magic, there's only so many cards that are like, well, this card is like the best value one. This is by far the most valuable card in the game. Like, super good. Everybody knows, all right, well, this card is amazingly good. Like Kiki-Jiki, Fable the Mirror Breaker, rather. It's just like an amazing busted card. So, no, I like
the game is definitely at a state where like every card is like value. Like if your card doesn't do anything when it comes into play or upkeep or give you like a token that you can use later, then your card kind of sucks. Like your card just isn't good enough. And in all honesty, I think that the game has gotten so complex that I almost don't want to be these players in the competitive scene, because man, that's so much thinking all the time. Like I know that when I'm playing on the ladder and trying to be competitive, like if I'm doing the grinding games, I'm like, oh, I gotta like give it everything. I have to like do like have to sit here and think about every decision I have to like. It's like Timeless. Timeless is like that, where if you make one wrong land drop, you lose the game. One wrong land drop and you just lose the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
A lot of micro decisions.
Yeah, it's just like it's because the cards are so nutty. Like if one of the cards hits the table, it's like, oh, they played Fable. All right, well, 1, they made a token, so I got to kill that. 2, they have a Saga, so it turns into a win condition. 3, next turn they're going to be able to filter their hand out. So it's like, oh my god, I have to deal with like. It's like, all right, next game. That's
I think that
like
kind of
like how it feels sometimes, right? Like, I'm not saying obviously like scoop like that early, but I'm just saying like the way cards are now, it's like everything kind of snowballs so quickly. To your point about like Fable and stuff specifically, like that. Like I think as like a competitive player, you really, man, you got to be like so in tune with your cards and so in tune with the matchups that you're able to overcome cards like a Fable the Mirror Breaker when it comes down and you don't have a direct answer for it.
So going into, I guess, maybe general specifics, I had a question. What would you say over the years of running Pizza Box, what's like one of the best upset wins? What was like a crowning moment, something that sticks out in your head as just like, wow, that is just, amazing that happened, that the way this shook out? What sticks out to you is that moment?
Oh man, I'm trying to think, because there's a lot, obviously, and like I said before, it's hard for me to like always remember like all of them too, because there's just like a lot. I think there's definitely been like, I don't remember specifically, but there was one final where everyone bet their channel points that this one deck would win, and they got like destroyed 2-0, and everyone in chat was like, how did that happen? I can't believe that deck won. And I think it was maybe
it was an upset.
Yeah, it was an upset, and I just remember, I think it was mono green versus the Turns deck or something like that. Epiphany.
Alrun's Epiphany, yeah.
Or like another deck. So something like that. I just remember someone was like, "Oh, you run the tournament where the mono green deck won." LOL. And I was just like, okay.
That's a good thing, though.
It was like that. No, it was hilarious because it was that much of an upset, right? It was that much of an upset that they thought that it was kind of like, oh, your tournament's kind of like a joke because like you have this deck that isn't good winning, and it's like, no, that shows you that like there's like, it's so much the player. There's so many different aspects of winning a game of Magic. Right, like you can literally be like, "This is my worst matchup ever," and destroy them. Just go in and just like flip the table on them, and you're like, "I don't know how that happened. That's like my worst matchup." And it's like, well, I mean, it's Magic. You got to play the game out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think there's something else to be said with like the mental aspect of it, and we often go over it when I'm doing commentary. Hamhawks often illustrate or touches on it. Some other creators who've done commentary have spoken on it too. It is very mentally taxing to play 6, 7, 8 rounds of Swiss, and then if you make the top 8, you're still expected to be like arguably at a higher playing level at that point because your competition just got better, so to speak. But mentally, you are most likely drained. You know what I mean? And a lot of tournaments, like, they take a break and go to the next day. We're talking, it's 6, 7 p.m. All right, man, let's start top 8. You know what I mean? And that's tough, and that can lead to a lot of the some mental mistakes. And maybe speaking to what you were saying, that's where you could start to see that upset, is because it's the end of the road. You've been playing long games all day, especially if you're, like you were saying, a freaking turns deck. These turns decks, those games would take forever.
Oh yeah, they go on
Especially if you're going
forever.
to like game 3, so that person could have just been so drained that they've just like, then and I see it. I see people, and I get to that point sometimes too. People get into a point where and it might be just from playing so much, getting their ass kicked, whatever. You can see when someone gets to a point, and you see it if you watch sports, they get to a point where they don't want to play anymore, at least that day.
They're burned out. Yeah.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Spirit, whatever, them mentally. Whenever I used to wrestle, they used to always say, make the other guy not want to wrestle you. Because even if they're better than you, if they don't want to wrestle you, then you'll win. It's the same thing. Like, people just end up like not wanting to play Magic anymore. Like Jay said, burnout, just sick of it. They're like, you know what? I made the top 8. I'm not going to beat this guy. Screw it. You know what I mean? Just whatever. So I think there is something to be said for that. Not to say that people would like intentionally just concede, but it is mentally taxing. Not only to put it on, but to play in the tournaments too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Some of my other favorite moments are moments where known jank players do really well with a deck.
Yeah.
Or like the opponent has no idea what's happening, and the commentators are like, "Oh, do you see it about to happen? Oh, they're about to do it.
Oh yeah, we're like seeing the lines. Yeah."
And then they do like their crazy combo, and their opponent's just like, "What just happened?" And like rage quits. So we've seen a lot of stuff like that where like the deck that everyone wants to win just absolutely wrecks it on screen. And I think that those are like really cool moments for the viewers, really cool moments for the players, and yeah, it's just really a lot of fun overall.
First time, remember the first time like a 5-color deck did really well recently, and everybody was like, "What the hell? How is a 5-color deck good?" And then now it's like that's one of the
Domain is top tier right now.
Yeah, Domain is like ridiculous. But for a while nobody would play 5-color in the pizza box, and then one day somebody won with 5-color.
It won an event. Yeah, it won 2 events in a row.
That's right. Yeah, that guy won 2 events in a row, and you definitely started to see it more on ladder. So I think it's really something to be said that, like, and I see other creators doing it too. We're like, all right, well, let's see what people are playing. I was gonna check out the top 8 pizza box today because that's probably what people are going to be playing tonight and for the next week or 2 until there's another tournament. So it is like this is developed into something that has influence over the meta on Arena.
Absolutely,
it is. It's relevant to that degree. So it's definitely, even if you guys don't watch this tournament, go on Melee and look at these decks. You may find a deck that you like. If you get nothing else out of this, you may even, find a new deck that helps you out on ladder, and then you're going to realize that, wow, playing in these tournaments or just watching them is actually a way where I can become a better Magic player. Even if I just tune in for like an hour or 2, I'm going to see high level play, and I'm going to see decks that are meta, and I'm going to see people discussing it and discussing play lines and this and that. And you'd be surprised, like, you can still learn just from watching. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just a lot of value, right? Like, you get so much value from this tournament. One, if you're a player, it's free and you have a chance to win money. If you're a viewer, you get to just watch it and consume like 8 or 9 hours of Magic. And then, if you're a grinder, then all these decks are going to be available for you. And a lot of the decks, as soon as I queue, let's say my tournament ends or the next day when I'm streaming or whatever, whoever I queue up against, it's going to be the decks from that tournament. And it always happens, and I'm like, oh my god! I'm like, here we go. Of course, I'm playing against the deck that won yesterday because that's what everyone saw that list on Goldfish, or they saw that list wherever, and it's just it's really cool. as a player, I wasn't that successful. Like, I know enough of what I'm doing, but I'm not the best player, and I never had that success, right? As a tournament organizer, I get to have the success and see everything from the other side, and I get to live through the players, and I get my fix through the tournaments, right? Like, I don't have to play in them anymore is usually how I feel nowadays.
That's cool.
Every once in a while I get the itch because I want to play in them, but that's just the competitive side of me. But I love hosting the event, and I'm way more successful hosting the event than I ever was as like a player.
Well, I kind of see it as you were talking about it before, and I thought about it like I like playing Dungeons and Dragons, but I really like being a dungeon master. I like kind of like running the game. It's fun to play, and I like playing, but I'm like, man, probably it edges out more that I like being a dungeon master more than this. Making sure everything runs well, providing a good experience for everyone. That's like more entertaining and engaging for me. So it sounds like that's kind of the effect that that you've kind of said. Well, I like playing. I love Magic. I love the game of Magic, but like doing this tournament, that's what I'm passionate about.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. And it definitely leads into like the whole streaming aspect of it and everything, right? Where that's kind of like what we all like to do. And yeah, it's just its own thing. Like I just really love doing it. It just takes a lot. Like it's a lot, and
yeah,
it means so much to have everyone involved. Like I can't stress that enough. Like the players really make it work by streaming the games and giving everybody the opportunity to catch the gameplay. And Discord is just a great tool to use overall, and lets us like watch the games and get all the commentators going, and it's awesome to be able to really get everybody together and just do the whole show. And you're right, it is in the same way, like you're saying, as like a dungeon master, where you get to live through these players. You really do. You don't have to. I don't have to commit to trying to win a game that is based off of randomness. Like, I think a lot of what hurts with MTG and ends up wearing you thin is that you end up getting to these game states, or these bad things start to happen, and then if you end up doing it for so long, like, kind of get turned off by it. Whereas like when I'm running the tournament, like, it's like it might be grindy for a little bit, but then I can get a break. Whereas like in the game you just don't get like a break ever.
No, yeah, it's always up or down. Yeah. I get burned out as a content creator. Listen, some nights I skip streaming, or I don't put up a video the next day just because I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I can't make another deck that get above 50%. It's hard, and
that burnout is real.
The burnout is real, and it's nice to have that alternate to support. That's why I'm always happy to support any other kind of endeavors, because it still lets me be involved with Magic without having to actually play Magic.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as we near as we near the end of our time for the episode, Pizza, do you want to just take a second and let people know where to find you, be it Twitch? I know you have a good thing going on YouTube too, Twitter, whichever, and also maybe just talk about like your kind of upcoming tournament schedule. I know we have 2 for the month, but just whatever, even if you want to talk about what your plans are for the year, feel free. Go ahead, man.
So far, we have the 2 tournaments this month, the 14th and the 21st, I believe. They're both going to be standard. February, going forward, we're going to have 2 tournaments a month. I'm not sure exactly the time frames for the next couple months, but I'm currently working on that while also getting all of the commentary together. So if you're a content creator out there and you want to do some commentary, definitely reach out to me via Discord or Twitter, email. There's tons of ways to find me on the internet. So if that's something that interests you, definitely get on that. But overall, we're just trying to keep doing what we're doing, eventually have our championship tournament as well. and kind of just move on from there and keep that going because of the glitch. Of course, the championship series itself was delayed, postponed. So we're still trying to get a definitive date on when we're going to have the Jankathon, which is our championship series.
I have to make a deck.
Definitely be on the lookout for all that.
Shit. You just reminded me. I need to make a deck for that still.
And I will include all this in the description. I'm probably gonna, if you give me some graphics of your your schedule, I can put it up on the screen as well when I edit the video. So
okay,
that's fantastic. I love seeing this level of community, and I think you've built an amazing community and just an event that everyone is so excited about, on a regular basis. You see Twitter when it was announced, people were like, let's go, Pizza Box is back. You see that enthusiasm, about that engagement. It's great to see, because it is a social game. Like they always say, there's a gathering in Magic the Gathering. And it's great to see. So you're really doing amazing work here, and thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I really love doing the events. Like, it really means a lot to me to be able to provide an avenue, right? Like, I really look at it sometimes as I'm the player that would love it if someone was doing this for me.
Exactly.
And the fact that I get to do it for the players means so much. And the fact that it's a good show and the fact that it's a good tournament, like, it's just so cool. Like I said, like, I never, as a player, I would never have this opportunity. Ever.
So you're bringing it to everyone else. And that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and you're doing amazing work. Oh, I'm sorry. Cut you off, Numbskull.
I was going to say, it's like similar to like some of the best restaurants or the best, at what they do. It's like the foundation of it is, well, when I am in this position, what is it that I wanted? And then they create that as the offering. And that's how you really generate success and get off on the right foot and get it going. Some of the best restaurants are like, hey, let me, we're only going to serve you food that I would cook for myself or for my family. And those restaurants are usually awesome. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And this is kind of like that. Like as you say, like, as a player, this is what I wish someone would have had available for me. And now I'll make it available to the world. And, here we are. Great success. So we're happy. We're proud of you, man. We love that you're in the space. And, we hope that, more and more people can get to know you and can, be able to support you and kind of recognize all this. And that's one of our main goals here. So yeah, we'll put up your Twitch, we'll put up your Twitter, we'll have links to your Discord and your tournaments,
everything that you give us. Yeah. The only thing,
and then we'll have you in our Discord too.
Yeah, you'll be in our Discord. You'll be in our Black Council Discord. The only suggestion that I have, you ever gonna run an artisan tournament?
Jay loves
I mean, it'd be pretty cool. I would like to do other formats, like a format that gets a lot of vocality from is going to be Pauper. People really want Pauper. So I mean, like, Pauper Artisan, like,
well, as Artisan's only fan, I just want to throw my hat in the ring. As the Artisan player, I'd love to see some Artisan at one day. I might even get involved. I don't know, but I know Pauper and Penny Dreadful are fun. Yeah,
I want to eventually make it so that this becomes so successful that I am able to do this full time, and I can have the opportunity to have multiple events a week, where I can have that 24 to 30 player tournament and be like, oh, this is so cool. It feels so personal. And I know this crowd, oh, this is my artisan group, or, oh, this is my, historic brawl group. I think that's what I really want. Honestly, I really want to have like those
digital LGS.
Yeah, pretty much. That'd be pretty cool.
I can see that. Yeah, that would be sick.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming, man. We really appreciate it. And
yeah, thanks for having me on.
We'll post all that, and I hope that's a good one this weekend. I hope to see you there.
Oh,
Whoever's
yeah,
watching,
definitely,
to our
yeah.
viewers, and we'll
Yeah, I'll be watching.
I'll be watching.
Yeah, we'll be there hanging out.
Absolutely. So from all of us at the council, thank you all for joining us today. Make sure to leave a comment, tell us what you think. We'd love to hear back from you, get some feedback. That's all we got. I'm calling this meeting of the council to the close. I've been Jay Villainy. You've been great as always. Numbskull is with me. Pizza Box,
Take care,
as
guys.
always. Hollywood Pizza is there. All the links will be there. Twitch.tv/thatvillainj, Twitch.tv/num_skull_, and our Patreon. Everything's right there for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good night and goodbye.